Hello, welcome to the PTA Preadmission Conference. Hey, I'm Dr. Emily Norris. I'm the PTA Program Director. I have been a PT since 2011. I went to Emory University. My specialty is vestibular physical therapy, but I've also worked with pediatrics, geriatrics, orthopedics, home health, in a variety of settings. I've been teaching since 2018 and glad to be the Program Director and Director of Clinical Education.
Hi, my name is Lauren Donovan, and I am a faculty member here at MCTC's PTA program. I have been with the PTA program for the last 5 years, and before that, I have been practicing as a PTA since 2014 in outpatient, inpatient, and skilled nursing facilities. So it is a pleasure to meet everybody. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and go into a little bit of what a physical therapist assistant does. So a PTA is under the direction and supervision of a physical therapist, and PTAs can help people of all ages and with different medical problems or even any different kinds of health-related conditions and ability. And our basic thing overall is to help improve functional mobility with patients. Next, we'll get into some MCTC PTA information. So our PTA program is on the Montgomery campus. It is a 2-year program. When you have completed your degree, you would receive an associate's in science. It is a selective admission process. So our applications are due October 1st of every year, and our PTA program classes will begin in January. And you can also be eligible for the Work Ready Scholarship, which we'll go into later.
When you're looking at a PT or PTA program, the first thing you want to do is make sure they're accredited. So we are fully accredited by CAPTI. We have a review coming up that they do every 10 years where they just look at what we're doing in our program and make sure that we're meeting their standards and continuing to provide good education to our students.
Here's a picture of the MCTC's Montgomery campus building. So we are located at 201 Clark Avenue in Mount Sterling. And on the Montgomery campus, here are some pictures of our lab. So we have 2 different classrooms that are set up for a lab and lecture. And so here are just a few pictures that we have. We have quite a bit of equipment. We have assistive devices, tons of treatment tables, and exercise equipment. And here are just some additional pictures of our PTA labs. Throughout the PTA program, we have speakers and field trips to highlight different specialties throughout with physical therapy. So example would be with a wheelchair and DME equipment from New Motion that came on campus. We also have like wound care. We go to pediatric outpatient clinic. So there's several different field trips and speakers that we have, so that way we can highlight those specialties into the program.
Our PTA program has had a 100% pass rate since our first graduating class in 2021. Every year we've had 100%. This past graduating class of 2025 has 1 student still waiting to test. Otherwise, every student that has taken the licensure exam has passed on their first attempt. The admission process to get into the PTA program. We are a selective or competitive admissions program. You must first apply to MCTC and then to the PTA program. In order to apply, we have several requirements, which we'll go over soon, and we score each applicant based on their GPA, their ACT scores, their TEAS scores, an interview, and a writing sample. Students also need at least 20 observation hours at a physical therapy clinic. Those hours must be submitted on a form on our website, submitted electronically, and completed by the PT or PTA that you observed. After interviews, we're able to take up to 18 qualified candidates each year, and our cohorts start in January of each year.
Next, we're going to go over the steps on how to apply. So first, as we just discussed, you're going to apply to Maysville Community and Technical College online on their website, and you will be submitting your transcripts. So you will submit your high school transcripts if you don't have any outstanding college credit or taking college courses from a different college. And also make for sure that you submit all transcripts for any colleges that you have been to, even if it's been at MSU, EKU, all those transcripts need to be sent in. And it is free to apply to the MCTC college. And then you will attend a pre-admission conference, which you are currently doing. And once you have completed the pre-admission conference, then you will have an application emailed to you, which we'll discuss again. And that way you can apply to the PTA program online. Okay, now I'm going to go over the PTA admission criteria. So you will need to complete the Allied Health Teas test score of a 60 or higher. Make sure it is an Allied Health Teas test, which we'll go over more in detail. You must have completed the ACT or SAT. If you have not completed those, then you can go, like if you're going to take the ACT, you go on to the ACT.org website to go ahead and register for that. Now, I will say there are very select dates to take the ACT, so don't wait to take that in case you run into any issues. And the same thing for SAT, you can go onto their website as well to complete the test. So one or the other if you have not completed one of those. And you will need a C or higher in the following courses. These are our prerequisite courses. So Bio 137 with the lab, so that's anatomy and physiology with the lab. English 101, which is college writing, Math 150, which is a college algebra course, and then we also give a preference to those that have completed Bio 139 with the lab, and that's just anatomy and physiology 2 with the lab. And then Psychology 110, which is just a general psychology course. Now, all those courses, if you are going to be enrolled in the same semester of the application due, so that's like in the fall semester. So in the fall semester, if you are wanting to apply for the January cohort, then you can go ahead and be considered a contingent student if you have not completed any of these courses for Bio 137, English 101, and Math 150, and still apply by October 1st. And so, and be considered contingent student by passing those courses with their C or higher by the end of the semester in December. And then also you need to complete the pre-admission conference, which you are currently doing. And then by completing the pre-admission conference, you should immediately receive an email of the online application to complete. Some other things that you will also need to complete is 20 hours of observation by a PT or a PTA in any kind of physical therapy location that you want to set up. So it would be on you to either call a hospital or let's say like an outpatient clinic and say, hey, I want to complete observation hours. And then we have that form online on our website for the PT or PTA that you have observed for them to complete. And then you can complete more hours of observation if you want to. It's totally fine. Or if you've worked as like a PT tech, that would include for your hours of observation. You also need to complete a CPR course through the American Heart Association or the Red Cross. So everything that you see here on this PowerPoint slide, everything needs to be completed by October 1st. Besides, if you haven't completed some of those prerequisite courses of Bio 137, English 101, or Math 150, then you can be considered a contingent student. And then all of our applications are due October 1st of every year, and our new cohort will start in January.
As Ms. Donovan mentioned, we have 3 true prerequisite courses: your Anatomy and Physiology 1, your College Algebra, and College Writing. Those must be taken either before you apply to the program, or if you are currently enrolled in those this fall semester, you can apply, and as long as you complete those courses with a C or better by the end of the semester, then you can be accepted on a contingent basis, which means once you complete those and pass those with a C or better, then we can fully accept you. That is based on the number of students that apply that have already completed them. They would get first priority, and then the contingent applicants would get the next in line. We also give additional credit to people who have taken the second anatomy and physiology course already and the first psychology course. The other general education courses that will be listed on the next few slides are required for the degree, but you don't have to have them completed before you apply to the program. We do look at the high school GPA or GED equivalent and give you points based on what your GPA is. Of course, under a 3.0 does not receive points, but it doesn't keep you from being able to apply or get your application seen for the program. Your ACT or SAT score, once again, we give preference to someone who scores a 19 or above, but we do not have a minimum required score. So as long as you have taken either the ACT or SAT before you apply, then you are still eligible to apply. For the T score, on the other hand, you must have at least a 60 on the T's in order to be viewed, for your application to be viewed in order to be considered for the program. So if you score less than 60, then we recommend you take it again and submit your highest score. If you are having trouble passing or have questions on how to register for the T's, let us know. We do have, some of the librarians have some study materials they can recommend, or we could reach out if you need help registering. So please let us know if that's the issue that's keeping you from applying. If you view and observe more hours at a PT clinic, or if you work as a tech at a PT clinic, you can count those hours and get more points on your application for the more hours that you do, with 10 points being given to somebody who's observed or worked 100 hours or more in a PT clinic. There are a few areas where we give bonus points. So we are allowed to give a bonus point for a Kentucky resident. We give if you've completed additional prerequisites. So some of those include a lifespan psychology course, a humanities and heritage course, communications course, things like that that are required for the degree but aren't required to be completed before you start the program. If you have completed 12 hours or more of those gen ed courses with a 3.0 or higher, we also give you credit. Just kind of an FYI, those courses must be completed by the time that your second semester starts in the program. So if you haven't completed them beforehand, then you'll be required to take those the first semester and possibly in the summer in order to move through the program. So we do recommend, if you are watching this at a time where you still can register for more classes, to get as many of those completed before you apply to the program, just to take some of the load off. We then invite the top qualified candidates to come in for an interview and a writing sample. So we interview them on campus and then have them do a writing sample, and we grade both of those, and those points count towards the overall score. And then the overall score is what ultimately determines which students get accepted and which don't. So if we have 30 qualified applicants, then we have to take the top 18 scorers. This is just the overall rubric. So each of the slides before this were screenshots of portions of this rubric, and this is what we use when we're going through each application to determine how many points each applicant receives and which applicants are our top scorers. So this is just kind of for your records to see how you would be scored.
On this PowerPoint slide, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Allied Health T's test. So again, you need to have a 60 or higher, and how you can take that, you can take it remotely directly through the Allied Health T's test website, the atitesting.com that you see as a link here, or you can take it on one of our NCTC's campuses, which would be the Maysville location. You would contact Jerry Morrison, but you can also take that remotely as well by contacting him. So either way that you want to try to take that, or you need to take the Allied Health T's test with their 60 or higher. Now, when you are trying to show that you completed that test, we can either look up your information, or you can email us if the PDF file of your score, of your T's test score. We will not accept screenshots, so it definitely needs to be the PDF version for that.
There are specific physical abilities that a PTA student needs to be able to demonstrate and be checked off on before going into a clinic to perform those types of skills. If you have any type of physical ailment or learning disability that you feel like will hinder your ability to perform these skills in the classroom or in the clinic, then you can reach out to our disabilities coordinator and request accommodations. We're only able to make reasonable accommodations that do not hinder your ability to treat a patient as a physical therapist assistant. So if you need to do that, you can let us know, and we can give you the information on who to reach out to and what are some of the reasonable accommodations that can be made. We also have a list of essential functions of a PTA student. So some of these things are arriving to class on time, completing assignments on time, participating, behaving in a professional manner, using sound judgment, things like that, that all of our PTA students must read through and agree to before they can start our program. So if you want to take a screenshot or a picture of these and kind of read through them just to make sure these are things that you can agree to, then that would be great. Or if you want a copy of them, you can request that. Otherwise, if you are accepted into the program, we have the students come on campus in January and kind of go through all these skills and functions and things and just sign the paperwork that they're able to do the things necessary to be a PTA student. This is just a continuation of some of the functions. Some of these are more physical requirements, and such as standing for 1 to 6 hours, such as lifting up to 60 pounds, things like that that are required when you're transferring a patient or when you're treating a patient. So again, take a screenshot, look at these, and make sure that you don't have any issues with any of these. And if you do, just reach out and let us know. This is what the Essentials Functions Verification Form looks like that we'll have you sign once coming to campus. So you would need to review the essential functions that were on the previous slides and agree that you have read them and that you're able to do all the things that are essential to becoming a PTA. It's not required for you to complete a drug screen or a criminal background check in order to apply to MCTC or to our program. However, a lot of our clinical sites do require that you complete the drug screen and the clinical background check before they will approve you to come to their clinical site for a clinical rotation. So if you have something in your background that you're worried about that could keep you from finishing your clinicals or even from being licensed as a PTA, because some convictions could keep you from becoming licensed as well, then you can either reach out to us to ask or reach out to the Kentucky board and ask, or just be aware that some convictions or a positive drug test could keep you from moving forward in the program. If you're not able to complete your clinical rotations, then you can't actually be eligible for graduation because there's courses you have incomplete grades on, and you would have to be removed from the program. So a student would be responsible for all the cost of screenings or of background checks if those are required for the facilities that you're placed at.
This is our MCTC PTA program costs. All the costs that you see here associated are estimates and are subject to change. But I did want to go ahead and go over some scholarship opportunities. So we do have what's called Work Ready Scholarship. So if you don't have a previous degree, a previous associate's, or like a bachelor's degree, then you would be eligible for the Work Ready Scholarship that could pay for the whole PTA program in full for tuition, and you would be responsible for other fees and like textbook fees. And then we also have the St. Clair Scholarship, CPE Scholarship, that is offered, into where we will have them come and speak to our students about this opportunity at the beginning of the program, and they will help pay for your tuition as well. So we can go into more detail of that later, but just to show that we do have some scholarship opportunities. And we also have what's called WeOA, and it's a process to where they can help you with other tuition assistance costs. We also have another program called TRIO, and they provide college assistance. So like that could be to help with your education, employment, and tuition assistance. And they also will help cover the cost for the Allied Health TEAS test, which would be free. So if you want to contact Sherry Chapman, she can give you more information on those details.
So clinical education or clinical rotations, placements, you might have heard us speak, say a few words, and maybe you're not clear on what that is. So that is where you go to a physical therapy clinic that we place you at, and you function as a PTA under a licensed PT or PTA. So you start treating patients with assistance from a licensed therapist, and eventually you get more and more independent with that treatment. So by the time you graduate, you're confident and comfortable walking into a clinic and starting out day one of your job treating patients. So throughout the program, we have several clinical education opportunities integrated in. Our first one is your second semester, and it's just a few days a week to kind of get your feet wet, get you used to a clinical setting and used to treating patients. And then we have a few full-time rotations starting your third semester in the program, where you work 40 hours a week at a PT facility that we place you at, and you assist with the treatments. So in order to do those, you will have specific requirements for each facility that you're placed at. They may require a health screening or certain immunizations. They may require you to have health insurance. We provide the liability insurance, and they may require the background check and the drug screen as mentioned earlier. Students are responsible for any cost associated with their clinical rotation, whether it's buying scrubs or driving to the location, or if you're placed at a far location because you want a specific setting or something that isn't near you, then you could be required to figure out your own, living accommodations and pay for those yourself. So up front, just be aware that there may be additional costs associated with travel and with uniforms and things for these clinical rotations. Some of the rotations require you to have specific vaccines. Now, we don't require any specific vaccines for you to start the program. Specifically, people worry about the COVID-19 or the flu vaccine or things like that. We don't require those for you to start the program. However, if you're placed at a site that requires one of those vaccines and you are unable or unwilling, then it can keep you from completing that rotation and moving forward with the program. There are forms where you can ask for an exemption based on your situation, and the facility itself will be the one to determine whether they accept that exemption or not. So just beware that some of these clinical rotations do require specific background checks, drug screens, immunization records that you would be required to fulfill in order to move forward with the placements and move forward in the program. So it could potentially stop you from completing the program if you're unable to fulfill those requirements.
So as soon as you are finished with this pre-admission conference, you are going to receive an email of the MCTC PTA application. Make for sure that you do save that link, and if you for some reason don't receive the link for the application, please email one of us, Dr. Norris or I, and we'll make for sure that you get that link for the application. And then you want to also make for sure that you complete everything that are the requirements that we just previously discussed by October 1st. And our applications are due by October 1st, so that is an online application to complete. And then if there is for some reason, maybe you haven't completed the TEAS test yet, or if you have questions about the ACT or any of the other pre-requirements before applying, if you want to reach out to us by email. And then the biggest thing too is make for sure that we do have a good email to contact you. So when you're filling out the application, that it is an email that will be able to communicate with you easily. And I believe that is all.
Thank you for completing the pre-admission conference. Here is our contact information. Please save that and reach out if you have questions or if there's any concerns along the way. We'd be happy to help. Thanks for attending today, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.